Hi kids, today we're going to talk about material from chapter 3 in our book, Water and the Fitness of the Environment. Water is the molecule that basically supports all life on Earth. 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered with liquid water, and all of life on Earth has evolved in the presence of water. Today we're going to learn about 4 properties of water that are important for living organisms. But first we need to understand what about water makes these properties emerge. Water is a polar molecule, and understanding the polarity of water is the key to understanding the properties of water important for life. We can think of a polar molecule as any molecule with opposite charges on each end, or one having a positive end and a negative end, like a battery. Each water molecule is made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. The oxygen atom is more electronegative than the hydrogen atoms, meaning that it pulls the shared valence electrons closer to itself. This unequal sharing of electrons results in oxygen having a partial negative charge and the hydrogens having a partial positive charge. Each of the 2 covalent bonds in the water molecule is highly polarized. This polarity leads to attractions between water molecules in solution and between water and other charged substances. This attraction is called hydrogen bonding. All 3 atoms in a water molecule are adept at forming hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonding occurs because the slightly negative oxygen end of one water molecule is attracted to the slightly positive hydrogen end of another water molecule. In a solution of pure water, each water molecule will form other water molecules. Understanding the relationship between the polarity of the water molecule and how it leads to hydrogen bonding is your key to understanding all the properties of water that are important for life on Earth. We can identify 4 properties of water important for life on Earth. These emerge directly from water's polar nature and its propensity for hydrogen bonding. Let's call them emergent properties because they emerge from the structure-function relationships that exist in the water molecule. These properties are cohesion, moderation of temperature, the fact that water is less dense when it's frozen, and also that water has a high degree of solvency. Let's talk about emergent property number 1, cohesion. Cohesion occurs when like substances are attracted to themselves. For example, when water hydrogen bonds to itself. Cohesion is responsible for surface tension. We see our water strider here walking on the surface of the water. Surface tension arises when water in solution has an interface with air. Hydrogen bonding exists between the water molecules in the solution, but a layer of aligned water molecules occurs at the surface of the water, creating almost a skin on the surface of the water. This is called surface tension and actually creates a habitat for some organisms living in aquatic environments. Cohesion is also responsible for the beading of water droplets on a surface. Cohesion is water sticking to itself by hydrogen bonding. Adhesion is another property of water that is similar to cohesion. It comes from hydrogen bonding. And adhesion is the attraction between unlike molecules. In this case, the hydrogen bonding of water to non-water substances or surfaces is and because cohesion and adhesion both depend on hydrogen bonding, we can consider them to be related properties of water. Cohesion and adhesion work together to allow water to travel up a thin tube against gravity, something called capillary action. Cohesion and adhesion are critical to the movement of water from roots to leaves, or transpiration in plants. During transpiration, The evaporation of water from the surface of leaves creates a negative pressure that draws a tube of water up the xylem tissue. The water molecules cling to each other by cohesion, creating a column, and cling to the walls of the xylem vessel by adhesion. This allows the movement of water up great distances against gravity. Emergent property number 2 of water is water's ability to moderate temperature. Water is slow to gain or release heat. That is, it has a high specific heat. Specific heat is defined as the amount of water required to raise or lower the temperature of a substance by 1 degree Celsius. So compared to other liquids like alcohol, the temperature of water changes less when a given amount of heat is lost or absorbed. The high specific heat of water is directly related to the hydrogen bonding which is present among water molecules in liquid water. Why? Well, when water is heated, most of the thermal energy is consumed in disrupting the hydrogen bonds between the water molecules rather than contributing to molecular motion that would result in increased temperature. Let's look at some of the ways that living organisms benefit from water's ability to resist changes in temperature. The temperatures of the Earth's oceans remain relatively stable, allowing the oceans to support vast quantities of plant and animal life. By absorbing heat, oceans also moderate coastal climates. These are the high temperatures in one August day in Southern California. Water's high specific heat also means that a relatively large amount of heat energy must be present for water to be converted to steam or to vaporize. Evaporation from the liquid to the gas state requires that the hydrogen bonds holding neighboring water molecules together be broken. When mammals cool themselves by sweating or panting, the heat energy required for vaporization is supplied by the body. The flow of blood to your skin creates heat that allows the hydrogen bonding between the water molecules in your sweat to be broken. So when the sweat evaporates, it carries heat away from the surface of your skin. Now let's look at emergent property number 3. Water is less dense when it's frozen, or ice floats. When liquid water freezes, the hydrogen bonds between neighboring water molecules lock into place, creating the maximum space possible between the water molecules. This means that ice is less dense than liquid water. Ice floating at the surface of large ponds and lakes in the winter keeps the water underneath from freezing by insulating it against heat loss to the cold air above. It's interesting to note that water is at its most dense at 4 degrees Celsius, which is generally the temperature of the liquid water at the bottom of the lake. The liquid water sinks to the bottom of the lake and maintains a habitat within which many fish and other organisms survive the winter. In the spring, the ice on top thaws, the sun reaches the dense water at the bottom, warming it, and that water rises to the top of the lake, creating a bottom-to-top turnover of the water in the lake that oxygenates and rejuvenates the system. Now let's look at emergent property number 4, water as an important solvent. Because of its polarity, water interacts readily with ionic compounds like sodium chloride, polar molecules like sugars, and some proteins. Substances that readily interact with polar water molecules are called hydrophilic or water-loving substances. Nonpolar substances like fats, oils, and hydrocarbons do not interact readily with water and are called hydrophobic or water-fearing substances. Think about all the substances transported throughout your body in your bloodstream. Glucose, salts, minerals. This is possible due to the unique solvent capabilities of the water molecule, which arise from water's polarity. Here we're looking at a picture of a protein that has some ionic and polar regions on the surface that attract water molecules. Here we've got what's been formed, something called a hydration shell, where water encases the protein molecule. And the combined forces of all the hydrogen bonding occurring at the surface of the protein will start to pull that protein apart. And again, this is a hydrophilic molecule. So let's look again. In ice, there's stable hydrogen bonds. They're locked into place and they're not moving. In liquid water, there's transient hydrogen bonds, meaning that they're constantly associating and disassociating. This leads to our next concept, which is acids and bases, or the concept of pH. Acidic and basic